how you're feeling at the end. Oh, there's lots more people coming. Yeah, we might not be able to have 4-minute stories from everybody. I'm just trying to do a calculation in my head. That's rather a
I
lot.
want 2-minute stories
Um,
then.
2-minute stories. I don't know if people can do that.
It should be possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Entirely possible.
entirely possible. So rather than doing popcorn style, maybe I'll just invite people who are in the top of my screen to just say hello and check in. So Evita, you're on the very top left-hand side of my screen. Do you want to? You look shocked. Anyone, you can just pass if you don't want to.
Hello, here I am, unmuted. I'm still in Switzerland, haven't made it back to Australia. And as you can hear, I had the Marrakesh cough, it went away and it's back. Moving house with a newborn and
Is anyone
toddler. And wishing I was still in Marrakesh. 1 foot and heart always on that magic carpet. That was me.
Okay, great. Jim, you're next.
Okay, well, I did make it back home. It was a transformative period for me. I've actually started telling to children, which I never did before. And I'm working on a children's book with several people. So it's very exciting.
Is anyone getting something's happening?
Okay.
We can hear you, Jill.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's all good for me, and I'm excited. I'd like to spend more time on feedback than on stories, but that's my personal preference.
Great. Thank you. Jill, you're next. Oops.
Oops, I'm getting a reverb. I don't know why, but here I am. I'm getting
Check in.
okay. I'm getting everything echoed. I don't know why. Yeah, but I'll try.
Do you have the session open on 2 devices, Jill? Do you think you might not have it on your phone?
No, I don't think so.
Your computer.
Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm feeling that part of me is still in Marrakesh with all of you, and part of me is home. I don't think so. I'm gonna go out and come back in, but that's my check-in.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, Liz, you're next on my screen.
Thank you. I had a chest infection. I came home from 22 degrees to -2 degrees. So I had a chest infection for about 2 weeks, but I'm back on it. This week I've been working again. So thanks, and I miss you all. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Paul.
Yeah, I recovered from the maladie de Marrakesh, which it sounds like a lot of us had, and very still exhilarated and enjoying Jim's book and John's book. And Michael, I'm going to buy your book this week, and really still loving having been with you in this amazing community, and great to be back tonight.
That's great. Lucille.
Hello, everyone. It's really lovely to see you. Can you hear me? Great. Yeah, I was afflicted for a while, but I'm back on it, and it's really strange to be home. It was like a dream. It's so different at home, isn't it? Back in the old routine. But I'm working with Claire, doing some music and storytelling in April, so I'm looking forward to that. And I've got loads of musical things on the horizon, so I've been playing lots of music whenever I can. And looking forward to seeing you all again.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Dawn, you're next on my thing.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you. I have been in Finland since I got back, and where it was snowy, which was great. And I am currently transitioning between homes, but I don't know where I'm going to live, so I'm having to pack up this house, and I currently don't have anywhere to go, so I'm a bit discombobulated, I would say. Don't know quite where I am, but in good spirits.
Oh, well, that sounds exciting. New adventures. Yeah, gosh, good luck with that move. Emma and Steve.
Yeah. Do you want to talk, Steve?
I think we should
together,
That'd be
synchronized.
Yeah.
Really good to be back here with you, because we were trying to remember when the storytelling festival happened, and it felt like it happened a year ago. Somehow these last 3 weeks has just whizzed by. So that's
But
what
yeah,
I'd say.
yeah, we're both in good spirits. So yeah, we're looking forward to hearing from everybody.
Great. Thank you. Justine, you're next on the row.
Hello. Yeah, lovely to see you all again. And I think like Lucille sort of came back to earth with a bang as soon as I arrived back here. So it's yeah, it's been a challenging few weeks, and it's really lovely to kind of see all your faces again. And imagine I'm back in Marrakesh where everything was beautiful and wonderful. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Great, great. Happy you're here. Mike Faculty is next on my list.
Hi, I think like most of us, I came back with an infection of some sort, but Dr. Bed sorted that out, and I've been thoroughly enjoying life ever since, and just wishing to be back in Marrakesh and having a nice tagine. But there you go.
That sounds good. I'm feeling hungry now. And Akung Jade, you're next on the row.
Hi, I've got a sinus infection still and vertigo because there's something going on with one of my ears. So it hasn't been pleasant, this whole time. I'm actually still feeling quite weak, but I wanted to get on and see you all again because it is so hard to be away from you all. And it's really, really good to see you. So thank you.
Oh, really sorry to hear about that. I had vertigo for a while, well, about 6 months ago, and it's not funny because you feel sometimes like you're going to fall over. Yeah, so hoping you get better very soon. Yeah. So Nada, can I ask you to unmute? Right.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I mean, I can't believe that the festival and it's so strange when I came back home and I can see no Rachel and no Maurice. It's strange and it was a very good experience and I was happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Nada. And for those of you who didn't get to meet Nada, Nada was doing some interviewing as well as other jobs. So thank you to Nada for that. And Maysoon, you're next on the next row.
Yes, apologies for my camera. It's not working and I can't find the other one. So yeah, it's so nice to be here and see you all again. I missed you all and it's been such a wonderful time to be in Marrakesh and with all of I was going through a lot of things. I had a lot of work things happening for me. So being with all of you and all the friendship and talks and inspiration in storytelling has been really wonderful. And I have to say I'm missing that at the moment.
Thank you. Yes, we can see a ghostly shadow, or I can see a ghostly shadow. It's quite mysterious looking. Probably a story to be told. Oh yeah, I can see you now. Just about. Yeah.
Yes, a bit foggy, but I
Yes,
put some surf
indeed.
wax into my okay.
So
Sorry.
Veronique, oh, I'm asking to, no, you're muted. I'm asking you to unmute. There.
I think it's good. Okay.
Good.
So it's nice to see you again. And yes, for me, everything goes well. I had some Saint Valentine projects, of course. And now I'm preparing a retreat for writing for 15 days on Tuesday. So it will be another project.
Great. That sounds very exciting. Are you teaching the writing course, or are you doing the writing course as a student?
No, I'm doing writing. I'm finishing a book myself.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
So Lisa and Max.
Hi.
Hello. It's so lovely to see you and hear from you all. What a couple of weeks it's been since we got back. I've been talking to my family, my friends about the importance of storytelling. You can hardly shut me up about that at the moment. And people are really vibing off that. So that's something that I'm enjoying. What have you got to say?
Nice to be back at home, but missing all the excitement and all the conversations and all of the learning that happened there, and really looking forward to having more of these kind of sessions.
Yeah, and we're newbies on the scene, so I wanted to stretch out and say a real big thank you because we had such a heart welcoming embracing from the whole community, like everybody that we met there. So missing Marrakesh, but we've also got plans to go back in a couple of weeks. So we'll be checking in with a few people then.
Yeah, and picking up t-shirts too.
Picking up t-shirts, yes, fabulous.
Great, brilliant. Dee, you're next.
Hello, everyone. It's been great being back. It took me a long time to kind of like get over the nasty jet lag. But I'm back and I'm busy and I'm missing everyone. So, stuff with Federation of Asian Storytellers all coming through. The guild here is starting to do stuff for World Storytelling Day. So, yeah, I've been busy. Gratefully busy.
Fantastic. Great. And I'm glad you made it back to Australia. It seems as though it's quite difficult to get back to Australia. So congratulations.
It took me, what, 40 hours, about there?
Yeah.
But I'm here. I am back.
Great.
And I will be back again in 2 years. So let's see how that goes.
And I was
But
hoping you were going to introduce yourself in the way that you uniquely introduce yourself usually.
Well, if you're going to be telling stories later, I will do that. But it's been so nice to see everybody again. Just even if you're in a tiny little square, it just fills my heart now.
Great. So Stephanie, you are next on my row.
Hello.
Hi.
It's nice to see you all. I just thought I'd pop in and see how you all were and catch up, and everything's fine here. Even John's behaving himself in the main part. So yeah, all good.
Great. And oh, it says Sophia here, but it looks like Graciela.
Hello, yes, Graciela, Sofia is the Zoom. I'm nice to see you. I miss you. I miss you. Desde Argentina los saludo, los quiero mucho y quiero decirles que para mí es un placer, pleasure for me to greet you. My soul has been impregnated with the Bahja spirit, and I transmit that joy to everyone here in Argentina. In Argentina, all the Argentinians are Bahja in very place. Thank you for all. Thank you. I miss you. I miss Morocco.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Jill. Oh, you're muted at the moment. There, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm back without any reverberation on Zoom, so I'm grateful for that. And I just was saying that I feel like part of me is still in Marrakesh with all of you and with the whole experience, and part of me is home. So I'm grateful for both. I just feel grateful.
Yeah, great.
A little sad, but mostly grateful.
Good. I'm glad you managed to sort out that techie problem as well. It can be quite pesky. So, Rona, you're next on my list.
Hey everyone.
So, yeah, like everyone else, it feels like ages ago since I was in Marrakesh. I'm very glad I have my little tangine pot on my counter to remind me that, yes, I really was there and it wasn't just a dream or a fantasy. I'm doing okay. I had my illness during the festival, so I came back and healthy, actually. Lots of snow here, and it's snowing right now, actually. And jumped back into my life, busy with gigs and marketing. So, and dealing with all the politics that's going on in the United States right now, which is causing a lot of angst and agony for me. But other than that, I'm doing all right. It's great to
Great.
see everybody.
Good. So, Catalina.
Hello, everyone. I am now living in Bilbao. So now hearing about Argentina, I get also a little homesick. It was great to be in Marrakesh with you all. Always going back to Marrakesh is wonderful for me. It's a really, really special place that has a big place in my heart. And I'm very happy to be able to hear, because during the festival I didn't have a chance to chat with all of you. So it's really nice to have now to hear all your voices, and happy to meet you all.
Yeah, that's great. It's amazing that we were there for a week, some of us for a lot longer, and there's still some people that we might see in a room and think, oh, I really want to connect, and then just not have the chance to, or listen to them telling, or they watched us telling and not able to connect. So this is a really great opportunity. Thanks for pointing that out, Catalina. Keith, you're next on my screen.
Hi. Well, looking at these screens, I am reminded of what I thought at the time, which was it was great to meet up with so many people who I'd become friends with at the previous festival, but also met a whole new load of storytellers and people at the next one, as I say, looking around. And we had such a great time, Lorna and I. I mean, the festival was just a buzz from start to finish. And as you say, we miss being there with you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith. And I don't think we need to ask Baden to say anything, do we? Baden, we don't really need to ask you, do we? I'm being mean, like everybody seems to be mean to you on the chats. And somebody's muted Baden. It's not me. Must be something going on with your audio.
Baden's own sound, yeah.
Audio on the left-hand bottom of your screen. There must be something going on.
That's because you told him you didn't want to hear him, Lucy.
I know. Now I'm feeling guilty. I've jinxed your... maybe this is it. No, not working. Not working. Well, maybe we can ask Mike and John to just chip in while Baden's sorting out his audio.
Mike, you first.
Okay, hi everybody. So I'm in the UK. I've actually spent some time in Marrakesh since the festival. I was able to go to the university, UMCCP, and thank our volunteers, including Nada, for their contribution. And we gave them some certificates, which was great. That was a lovely, lovely day. I'd like to encourage those of you who haven't done so to complete the end of festival questionnaire. We've almost got our 50, but if we did get a few more, it would be super, super helpful. And I'd like to thank so I'll put that questionnaire chat into the link into the chat again, just for convenience. And I thank all the great work that's been going on media. So especially Noel, but those of you who've contacted your local press, we've had fantastic response. And I think for those folks who don't normally reach out to their local media, it's such a compelling story. Please do take advantage of Noel's good work and do that. It all helps the festival, and of course potentially it could help you with your local publicity as well. So yeah, nice to see everybody again, and Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just check back with Baden to see if he's there, and if not, Noel.
Does John not get a turn then?
Well, John does, but we'll go to Noel and Baden first. And actually, there's a couple more people who've arrived.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it was a really, really great experience. I've been back and I've been doing my usual kind of freelancing stuff. But you know, to paraphrase, I think everyone, part of me is still back there, you know, in Marrakesh, and I've had some nice connections with a lot, you know, some people, and it's very nice just keeping up that contact through text and stuff like that, and it was very enriching for me, professionally, you know, and creatively as well, and just you know, just picked up a few skills along the way, you know, so like even in those few days, you know, so yeah, just loving it so far and very glad to be here tonight, and so it's lovely to see everyone, you know.
Great, thank you. Baden, are you there yet? No, can't hear you. So keep pressing buttons on that left-hand side bottom row of Zoom. I'll go over to Fiona. I can see a pony that looks very sweet, a foal.
She put in a note into the chat that she was driving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it might not be a good time. And Veronica, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm going to put my camera on as well. Hi, guys. You know what? This is amazing. It's like seeing long lost friends. And you're not even long lost. It's only a few weeks ago. But it just, wow. Yeah. It's so good to see so many faces here. And I will tell you that when I walked into Marrakesh this time round, I arrived at the airport and I felt I was at home. And now just seeing you guys, it feels like it's family too.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really sweet. And Omar is joining us. Omar, would you like to say hi? Just check in.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, we can see you as well now. Yeah.
Yes, how are you? Sorry for
How are
being
you?
late.
That's okay. How are you doing? Do you want? We're just catching up, checking in.
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Good. And I can tell you that Omar has been telling some wonderful stories at the Storytelling Festival. We've had some great feedback from visitors post-festival, because he was kind of free to go and explore during the festival, go and take part in other things. But he came back at the end of the festival, and I was there quite a bit, and upstairs listening in to him telling stories downstairs, and we had wonderful feedback. So yeah, we're really glad to have you back in the cafe again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Dare I check in with Baden and see if I've done something, jinxed your audio? Computer says I'm connected. Mic is on, everything should be working okay. I suspect foul Fook play. Gosh, I would never do Fook play. Who's done that? What else has anyone got, any techie person got any good ideas to help Baden be able to actually you can go on your phone?
If you go over to your audio and do the little up arrow and do test speaker and microphone, that will make sure that the microphone you're using is the right one and the speaker you're using is the right one. But you're showing yourself as not muted, which means your computer doesn't recognize the microphone you're using.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, so John, did you and I check in now?
Well, we should. Well, it's lovely to see everyone, and I echo Mike. You know, the press coverage has been fantastic from everyone. Graciela seems to have taken over the whole Argentinian media with the story. And but it's I'm like everyone else. I feel like it's such a long time since festival, but it
Hello.
wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah, well, typical. He comes on in the middle of my So go. So no, I'll see you. I'll see. No, he's putting me up next week because I'm
Let
doing school.
chaos
So,
be unleashed.
so, so go ahead, Baden. It's all good here. It's all good.
Well, it was. Hello, everybody. Great to see you all. Great to be here. And despite their worst efforts, I will have a voice. I will be heard. Honestly, magical experience in Marrakesh. I met some of the most beautiful people, some of the loveliest, loveliest souls on earth. And Babasi was there as well. And here we are, still connected and looking forward to see what develops.
Great.
Lovely to see you all again.
Yeah. So if Fiona, just want to check if Fiona is able to speak, even though you're driving. No, well, I'll just check in. Yeah, so I was one of the lucky ones. I was ill 3 weeks before the festival, and so I just sailed through the festival without any illness. And yeah, so I was kind of grateful, but really sorry that so many people felt sick. But I was saying to someone, oh, there was a terrible illness in Marrakesh. And they said, no, we've had it here. It's been everywhere. Everywhere we've gone, everybody's been sick in all different countries, in all different places. It's not just in Morocco. So yeah, so I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling really glad to be here, very pleasantly surprised by how many people are here, and hoping that we can do something, create some kind of structure or something that will allow us to continue this kind of getting together and sharing the Bahja and you know, the togetherness, really, the connections that we've all made and are making and will make. Yeah. So can I switch back to John, because I think you hadn't quite finished your checking in, and maybe you want to see how many people want to tell stories.
Well, yeah. No, well, I just think it's been magnificent to see you all, and I'm just very grateful, to you all for just turning it into such a fantastic festival. When Mike and Lucy and I and Zhu were in 2020 said, let's do a festival, and it grew into what happened this year. So I'm just amazed and fantastically grateful to you all. And so yeah, and yeah, so and I'm grateful to all the people in the cafe. Waleed, got to mention Waleed, and who's now become visible since the festival. So we now know what Waleed taught. He's given up being an anonymous person on the screen. So we're going to have stories.
Waleed could check in actually if you'd like to. Waleed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Happy to see you again. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great.
I'm very glad to be a part of the festival. So, so maybe for the next festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Waleed has been wearing the wonderful Selham cloaks that we have in the cafe, standing outside and really welcoming people in. And when Omar's not there, he's been stepping in as trainee storyteller. So thank you to Waleed.
Hi guys, I can say hello now. I'm not driving.
Oh, great. Hi, Fiona.
Bonsoir, Fiona.
Bonsoir. So yeah, feeling good and feeling so rich from the many new friends made at the festival. So yeah, very grateful and glad to hear your voices and see your faces.
Great. Thank you. So back to you, John.
Well, I was going to suggest that we put in the chat if we want to tell a 2-minute story, That's the maximum, or we'll still be here tomorrow, and we've got another session tomorrow. So, and Lucy, if you can pick the names, it's as you probably got a screen big enough to sort of see the names on as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm
Yeah.
working off my phone at the moment.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I'm going to just interrupt and say we all get to tell and hear stories all the time. I would love to have the opportunity to give feedback and hear other people's feedback more than listen to stories. And so I'll respectfully suggest that we share feedback with each other rather than tell stories. But I defer to those who decide, but I'd like to offer that as an option before we move forward.
Well, perhaps I could suggest we put anybody who is ready to tell a story, whether it's 2 minutes or 4 minutes, if you put your names down there, because if there's only a few people who want to tell stories, we could tell 4-minute stories. So at the moment, I can't see anybody who's put their name down to tell a story. Oh, Liz. Okay, let me put that. So anybody else got a 4-minute story, or shorter if we have 20 people? I can't see. I've got to. Oh, was that Veronique? Were you? Yeah, Veronique. Okay. I think I missed the timing. I want to share a mini poem, Evita. Great. How are we planning to be in the meeting? It ends at 10. So Liz, Veronique, Rona, but she would rather give feedback. John, yes. Anybody else? You can just put your hand up, although you could do it through the react button on the bottom. Because I've got 2 pages to scroll through, I might miss someone. Okay, Mike says he's happy to listen. Evita agrees with John.
With Jim.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
There we go again.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, white-haired old geezer.
Could I suggest, we don't have very many people who are ready to tell stories. So can I suggest that we have just a few stories and then have feedback? Would that be a good compromise? Yeah, John?
Yeah, we'll go for that.
Okay, so Liz was first. So John, I'm going to let you introduce people because you'll do your much better MC sort of thing. Oh, Liz is saying she doesn't need an MC.
No, you just tell us what we're doing. I'm working off a mobile phone, which is very difficult to say.
Okay, so Liz, could I invite you
very
to tell your tiny story?
I always start any storytelling training with this story. A young minister was asked to step in for an old minister who was away on holiday. And so he prepared his sermon very carefully. He prepared a full 1 hour, and it was real hellfire and damnation stuff, stirring stuff. And on Sunday morning, the whole church was full of people, and he got up and declaimed his sermon. And at the end, people were shaking his hand and telling him how moved they were by it all. And then when it came to the evening service, only one old man sat in the front row. But the young minister thought, no, I've prepared this sermon, I'm going to deliver it. And again, he delivered it with hellfire and damnation. When he came down to shake hands with the old man said nothing. And so finally he said, can I ask you, sir, what do you think of my sermon? And he said, well, it's like this, son. I keep hens. When I go out with a bucket of meal to feed the hens, and only one hen comes, I don't give her the whole bucket. And that's my story. Less is more.
Great. Thank you. Like that. So who is next? Let's see. Just trying to read through the list. Say it says Baden, but I don't think that was for a story. Evita, were you saying that you wanted to do a story or poem? Just looking
we don't have time for a story, but it's sort of maybe a little segue to feedback later. it is actually written down at the United Nations, this very short poem. It's by Saidi Shirazi, and I felt very strongly when I was in Marrakesh once or twice. I felt very strongly that this is very, very important that we share this, because, you know, once upon a time, a lot of storytellers from all over the world came to a wonderful magical place called Marrakesh, and mostly it went beautifully. Once or twice I felt that there needed to be a reminder. So this is what Bani Adam by Sadi. The sons of Adam are limbs of each other, having been created of one essence. When the calamity of time affects one limb, the other limbs cannot remain at rest. If you have no sympathy for the troubles of others, you are unworthy to be called by the name of a human. Not that anything that bad happened, but I'm just reminding us all that we are all connected in some way, and that it's very, very important that we acknowledge the wonderful key holders, our young people and volunteers, that welcomed us with so much dignity, with so much love, with so much passion. They shared their art, they shared their time, they became sons and daughters of another mother, and what an integral part they were. And just hope that a few of the little things that happened come up in the feedback. That's all for me right now.
Great, good. And do feel free to bring up those little things if other people don't bring them up. Yeah. Great. So Rona has a 2-minute story, I think, or
Yeah, I actually have two, but I'll do this one, which I actually did for a few people at the cafe. So I grew up outside of Boston, and for a brief time I worked in Boston proper. And like a lot of people who worked in the city, I occasionally would go out to lunch. And one day I was I was going out to lunch with my friend Susan, and we were walking down the street, and you know what it's like in any big city. There's lots of, well, in Marrakesh would be a good example, lots of cars or carts in the case of Marrakesh, people talking, shoes on the sidewalk, etc. Lots of noise. And amongst all this noise, Susan turns to me and says, "I hear a cricket." And I said to her, "Susan, that's impossible. There's so much noise here. How could you possibly hear a cricket?" She says, "No, no, no. I did. Watch, I'll show you." And so she takes me across the street, and she takes me to one of those big cement planters that they have in cities with small trees growing out of them. And in amongst the leaf litter of that tree, she shows me a cricket. I said to her, "Susan, how did you do that? That's impossible. You must have some secret." She says, "No, no, no, I don't have any secret." I said, "Susan, come on. You must have some superhuman hearing or something." She goes, "No, no, no. My hearing's just the same as everybody else's. Watch, I'll show you." And she reached into her pocket and she took out some coins that she had, and she threw them on the sidewalk. And every head within 20 feet turned to see where the sound of the money was coming from. And she said, "See, it's all a matter of what you're listening for."
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. And it's also what you're looking for as well, isn't it? There's an experiment. I won't spoil it for you, but it's about it's from Jonathan Haidt, this guy who's a sociologist, and it's quite astonishing. He shows a video, and actually if I tell you about it, it'll spoil it. It's something, some of you are nodding, you might know a little bit about it. Maybe I'll put it in the chat and you can look at it, but it's an example of how we look at certain things and we see what we want to see. Yeah, so last person is Catalina.
Yes. I have a little poem by Hafiz, and it goes like this. How did the rose even open up its heart and show the world all of its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being, otherwise it will remain too frightening. And that's the poem.
Mm. Thank
Could you put that in the chat by chance?
Yes.
That'd be great.
Of
Thanks.
course.
Great. So now we could move on to
John was going to do one.
I
Oh,
was going
sorry.
to do one.
Oh,
I
I'm
was
sorry,
going to take
John.
us.
Sorry.
I was going to take us back to Morocco
Yeah,
because
great. Go
I
ahead.
do love Juha, and he's bought 10 donkeys, and he knows he's bought 10 donkeys, and he's riding one back, and he's driving the others down, and he counts them, and he thinks, God, I've only got 9. And he gets off and he counts them again. There's 10. And he gets back on and he counts them again. There's 9. So in the end, he walks into town driving these 10 donkeys. And the next day, he just takes one of them, comes into town, leaves it somewhere like we leave cars in a supermarket car park. And we can never remember where we put it. And he loses his donkey, but he's laughing and he's smiling and everyone's saying, you're crazy. You've lost your donkey. Why are you so happy? He said, well, if I was with me donkey, I'd be lost too.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's great. That's great. I was going to say that sounds like one of my dad's jokes. Yeah, great. I like that. Yeah, so now, is there anybody else I may have missed? Oh, Veronique. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Because I want to tell, because I was really impressed by Rachel's story, which were a real life story, and it was really strange. Before coming to Marrakesh, I've been stolen. I mean, the window was open from my home, and there was some thief inside the home, and they took a little collection that I had as an heritage from my mother. Was like pills box, silver box, very teeny things, but I loved it. And so I was completely shocked and I couldn't say anything. But what is really surprising is that when I came back from Marrakesh, 3 days afterwards, I've been in a flea market because I had some friends in visit, and I say, okay, let's go to the market. It's so nice there. And so we've been, and I told them, what would be strange is that I would see my collection of little box, and there on the table, just 1 second afterwards, they were all there, the little box. So I was so surprised that I cried. And it was a cry of joy, of course. It was Bahja. And I think it was Bahja from Marrakesh, this little story. That's it.
That's great. So is there anybody else? Oh, Baden says might do one later. Great. That would be lovely. Great. So perhaps now we can move on to feedback. What went well and what could we do better next time would be great. So I think what I probably should say, because I think it's useful, is if you've got anything that's really to do with a particular person, that's personal feedback, it might be good to put that in an email, and if you want, make that anonymous so that we don't end up saying, oh, so and so did this and that really irritated me. But apart from that, I mean, we do want to have feedback. It's not that we're trying to avoid feedback, but I think sometimes we don't want it to be directed at anyone in particular. So if you have specific or very long feedback, then that's probably good to put in an email format. But for positives and negatives. But apart from that, maybe we can start off with what went well, and then we can do we can move on to what we need to what will be useful to focus on for next time. Yeah, Liz, unmute.
I'd just like to say on behalf of people like myself, my knee completely gave up, which thanks to Stephanie, it's been perfect since I got home, but the week I was in Marrakesh, I'd just like to thank our helpers. I know, speaking on my behalf, Eamon, Eleanor, those of us who weren't as able-bodied. Amazingly, I'm totally able-bodied here, but I'd just like to say how much that was appreciated. When I organize festivals, I always give a minder to somebody who really needs a minder, and you people did that, and I just want you to know how much that was appreciated, and I'm hoping that our volunteers got something out of it as well. I enjoyed my time spent with Noel, whose family are still sleeping in tents up in the mountains after the earthquake, and it was a privilege for me to meet her, and I'm continuing my friendship with her. So that's been a lasting thing that came out of this. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Yeah. And just to reassure you that the volunteers, the Henna Cafe volunteers, they were actually given a good amount of sort of not just praise, but also some financial support as well. So I think
I did that too. Yeah,
they were pretty pleased about that. And also they work at the Henna Cafe as volunteers, and they just get their travel expenses. And I think this was a really great opportunity for them. The ones that I've spoken to really enjoyed the opportunity they had to be able to support people in the festival. It's kind of a privilege for them as well. I think that's the feeling that I got. Yeah, and I think some deep, long-lasting friendships. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry.
Shoot, I did it again.
Oh, that's okay. Did you want to speak? Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah, I want to echo what Liz said, that I felt the volunteers, the young people that were volunteers helped everybody, whether they were assigned or not. And they certainly did that for me. And I'm really grateful for that, and also felt some real friendships out of it. And one other quick thing I wanted to say, that in the school programs, I felt like that there was enough time for besides whatever we presented, there was enough time for encounters to happen afterwards between the children and the teachers. And at least I had that experience, and I'm thinking other people might have too. And I wanted to tell one example of that, if I may. It's short. And that is, I went into a high school with Kunja Day, and there were a few students who stayed past the time that the majority of students stayed, and there was time for that. And we arranged the chairs in a circle in the back instead of the desks. And because I saw some folding chairs, and Kunja Day and I both wanted to do that. And I asked the kids why they thought the chairs were in a circle. And one young man, who I think his name was Usama, he raised his hand and he said, because the story's in the center and we're around the story. And I felt like there was time for all of that to happen. And also one teacher who translated, who clearly had never told the story before, and she translated so beautifully. We went back and forth. And I had time again to talk with her after the kids were out of the room, and to just tell her what a beautiful storyteller she is and invite her to do it more. So, and I think all of us that went to the schools, whoever I spoke to, really felt a deep connection with the people we worked with. And that only happens if there's extra time.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really good to hear. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jill. Jim.
Well, there's so much to say. Let me keep it to the short, most important ones. Having all these opportunities to co-lead workshops with people I didn't know from across so many cultures was just a real treasure. And that was one of the really important parts for me. I also, it might be obvious, but to have the tent where we had it was really, it couldn't have been better. And I would see people stacking up behind a barrier to listen. I think that was an indication of how much interest we generated amongst the people, the Moroccans and the other tourists. So that was another great thing. And I like the fact that we were able to have smaller venues for telling throughout the old city. And that was, again, we weren't confined to one place, but there were many opportunities to tell and work together. So that was, and just, the selection of people to attend was really brilliant. So thank you.
Great. Dawn, you're next on my list. I'm not sure if Kung Jade was earlier, but you're first on my screen.
Yeah, I won't repeat what others have said, and I'll try to be brief, but I think I've had the pleasure of being at the other editions as well, so I'm able to compare how it went. And one of the great progressions for me was the doubloons, which were a splendid thing. They really were. They were such a good idea, and the restaurants were wonderful. So it was brilliant, made things much easier. And I thought that having the two tents at the story, on the square was wonderful, and they were so comfortable and such a good centre to go to. And I'm also really grateful for how the accommodation was managed. And I know it must have been a massive nightmare to do it, but it just really worked this year particularly. And just wanted to say those three things, and thanks very much for that.
Great. I know Mike will be very pleased to hear that. He spent many evenings on his phone trying to arrange accommodation when people were quite last minute at making their offerings. But yeah.
But actually, if I could say a word on accommodation, just by way of explanation, the reason that we allocated so late is that we had offers of accommodation literally right until the last day. And when you're trying to optimize, it would have meant moving people, and the knock-on effects of having another extra 7 rooms very near the centre or whatever were just huge. So thanks everybody for patience on that. And I guess it's I do appreciate the feedback. Thank you, Dawn. But on our peak night, we slept 136 people, including our supporters and volunteers. So a big effort from Matt, and it did not pay for a single room. So that shows how welcoming the city of Marrakesh is to storytellers.
Thank you. Thank you. Kung Jade.
I don't want to be repeating or anything like that, but I wanted to say that the session with Jill was so phenomenal, because I remember by the end of that session, I don't know, like, it was the administrator, Jill, I think it was the administrator who made an announcement that they were going to hold regular sessions for storytelling club for students to join in, I think once a week or once a month. I forget what it was exactly, but they were going to host sessions where the students could actually participate in storytelling. And I don't know, I was just so blown away. And I was just, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't be so surprised, but it was I was deeply touched by that gesture.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And I know that there are some plans afoot with the education department to try and create something. Maybe it's story clubs, story sessions. I'm not sure if that's perhaps what the administrator was referring to, but we are intending to keep close ties with those people so that we can give whatever input and support might be helpful for them. So if people are interested in that, that would be fantastic too. Yeah. Thank you, Kunjade. Rona. Or no, you've
Yeah, I do have a few things. I actually want to suggest that Baden go first, and I can go after him.
Yeah, great. Baden, you need to unmute. Oh, that's it. Great.
Yeah, I think Paul might have been in before me. I'm not sure.
That's all right. Seeing
Okay.
you were being messed
Yeah.
by technology, you can go.
I don't mind repeating what other people have said. I think that the contribution of the volunteers, support workers, the people who accompanied us to the schools, on the transport on the way to the schools, they were actually phenomenal. I mean, the guy who was with me on the first day, I will come back to that later on. The level of support offered on the way and what he did while we were at the school when we were there was just extraordinary. Mohammed, one of the younger Mohammeds, Ilham El Mansour, who was with myself and Catherine, I think, at the second school that I went to, was just, I mean, absolutely extraordinary. Really, really amazing. And the other thing I'd like to flag up is not just how great the school sessions were once you got there, but the generosity of the staff and the welcome from the students, the sort of love and the level of appreciation that we were shown. And I'm hoping this goes for everybody who did a school session, was just absolutely extraordinary, really, really heartwarming. And finally, the first gala dinner, I had to miss the celebration at the end, unfortunately, because I left a day earlier. But Eleanor Benjamin and her husband, who was staying at the same place I was, just that outpouring of joy, all the participants jumping around, dancing, Evita unwrapping her head, her head wrap and throwing out her locks, and that outpouring of joy on the other night was just like an experience that I'm never going to forget. I'm sure most of us won't. Yeah, something to truly celebrate, remember, and to be proud of, and to be remembered for being there and being a part of it. Previously, the parade through the town with the guys with the lobster claws and the my memory for names is getting worse and worse, but the drummers and dancers, we all know, was my sort of abiding memory of Marrakesh. But that Sunday night at the restaurant and that impromptu singing and chanting and dancing session, I mean, God, I wish I was 30 or 40 again. Yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Paul, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, as someone who didn't know you as a group, Taffy had said, go, I can't go this year. And he sends his regards, by the way, and I have been in touch with him. I'm going to show him lots of photographs when he's feeling better. He's not so well this week, but I will catch up with him and show him hundreds of photographs. And he and Chrissy wanted to send their love to everyone. This is Taffy Thomas. And And someone coming in who didn't know anyone within 2 hours, literally, of landing, and to walk into the cafe and meet Veronica and Lucille, and the warmth of the welcome. And I really say this to all of you. I've as a ex-medic, retired medic, I've been to umpteen conferences and things. Then this was really special. And I would say to all of you, you are a very welcoming and special group. And it was a joy to be with you for a week. It's one of the most exhilarating, exciting, and inspiring weeks of my life, really. And the parade again was just fantastic. And I'm still buzzing from it and telling lots of people about it, as and really wanting to inspire to really go forward with my storytelling. And the other thing I wanted to say was for me, as a total newbie from the outside, was the range of workshops, masterclasses was just phenomenal. And maybe you just all came up with them, chipped the ideas in. I don't know how it was organized, but what I would say is that the mixture of things, from movement classes to really sort of technical classes in some respects, how you'd introduce humor, and also I'm really enjoying Jim's book particularly, and thinking, and yours, John, of course, and the ways of looking at sort of grief and thinking of ways of using stories. My mind's going way laterally, and at the same time, the masterclasses were just amazing. The different variety of them, and so many things learned and inspired. I only wish I could have attended them all. At the same time, it was good for my legs and exercise to be bombing around the city to the different venues. So I'll stop there. It's just to say, what a phenomenal festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Noticing all those things. It's really, really lovely. And I want to read Jim Brule's book. Haven't read it. Yeah. So Fiona, you're next.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I just want to thank you for the overall vision of the festival, the breadth of the vision, the invitation us at the opportunity of making. So the opportunity for community and making new friendships by you inviting hundreds of tellers, that was just phenomenal. I loved the accommodation and meals, and the being able to go to schools and meet university students. Love to be able to hang out at the tent in all hours of day and night and be at the center of the action. Feel the beating pulse of Marrakesh there. And love the team of volunteers and their kindness, their stamina. Loved all the themes of the different sessions: personal stories, collaborations, healing stories, women's empowerment. It was so rich. And last, I would like to thank you for including so much music in the festival with those amazing bands that kept popping up. It was so, so, so rich. So thank you for all that.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really lovely. Yeah, and the music was fantastic, wasn't it? There's some things, sight is important, stories are important. There's like that somatic feeling, that music, that drums in particular, but I think all kinds of music, they just reach parts that other things cannot reach. So yeah, and especially the drummers somehow, the Moroccan drummers somehow. For me, they just really reach deep into my body. It's quite amazing. It's quite exciting. And, we don't have that, or I don't experience that much unless I turn the radio up really loud in the car. And it's not quite the same when it's not live. Oh, so I lost somebody. Was there somebody? Oh, Lisa and Max.
It's me.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also still need to go at some point.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're the one who I lost, Rona. Yeah. Rona, should we have Rona?
And now I'm found,
Lisa?
as they say.
Yeah. Great.
Sure. So I of course ditto to everything everyone has said about how wonderful the festival is and was. I also want to second how brilliant the coins worked for meals, gazillion times better than what it was 2 years ago. So thank you for that. Also, I'm wondering if if my memory serves me well, on the opening dinner that we had as a festival. Last year, I believe we got bussed someplace. I know we did for the end, just as we did today this year. But did we were we in town for that meal? I can't remember. I think we had got bussed someplace, didn't we, John?
We went to the Agafay Desert, which is about a good half hour from town for the opening.
Exactly. Okay. So I really liked having that dinner, that first dinner in town. Way less logistics. And it was just nice to, plus, because that was one of the restaurants with the coins, we got to see where it was and everything. But just it being outside in the patio there upstairs, just I really thought that was a nice change from last year. So I'm gonna, everyone is talking about all the wonderful things, which is great. I have a whole bunch of ideas for how we can make things even better, or things that I enjoyed from the previous festival that I was at. But I'll just share one here, and the rest I will share with John and Lucy and Mike later. But one of the things that we had 2 years ago that I missed this year is that we 2 years ago we were all assigned two or three two or three slots where we were slotted in to performance uh well, performance slots is what I come up with, where we knew that when this particular time we'd have at least those times where we would tell stories, and then an assigned place on the Gemma. Now, this year, of course, we had the record, so that sort of took over that. But I really liked coming into the festival, and even if it was a last minute schedule, to know that I had a couple of places where I was going to be able to share some stories. So I hope that you bring that back next year. And because we won't have the world record to meet, hopefully that'll make that easier as well. It felt like there was a more of a shift towards workshops and discussions and panels and stuff, which is fine, which is great. That's good too. But I did miss not knowing exactly when I'd have a chance to tell stories, like having dedicated place in the schedule where I would be on, so to speak. So last year I had my own slot. I had a slot with Sarah, and then I had a place in the Gemma, and I think those were only three. But so anyway, that's my little piece of feedback that I hope that you bring that back in the next iteration.
Thank you for that, Lisa. That's really helpful and very welcome. Yeah.
No, not Lisa.
Great.
Thank
Lisa and Max.
Yep, I'm Lisa. That was
And then
Rona.
Keith.
Yeah, I put my hand up because I've heard everybody talk about the volunteers and how fabulous they were. And I echo that wholeheartedly. Really felt like family, felt completely looked after. And the food, the hospitality, the place to stay. I didn't know we'd get meal tickets. Oh my God, that was amazing. We felt really taken care of, the hospitality of everybody and the hard work done by everybody. In the background, we could see all of that. But what I wanted to remark on, and that I found so remarkable, was that yourself, Mike, John, all really, really busy holding stuff together. But each of you took time to make us feel welcome. You always stopped to say hello and connect in with people. I could feel that connection. You must have had 100 people and loads of requests happening every day, problems to solve every day, but you still took your time nice and relaxed to have a conversation. And I wanted to give thanks for that as well, because that's like top warm, open-hearted hospitality and management that is exemplary. Thank you so much.
I'm just going to throw in my absolute love of the doubloons, because I thought the doubloons, the meal provision itself was an amazing extra, right? Everybody, benefited from having the ability to go and just get some meals sorted out. But the doubloons added onto that was such a story element for me. It was such an enriching, creative element. I've got a big thumbs up for that. And I can see Keith wants to speak, so I'm going to keep this very short. But I want to just say how much I enjoyed the stories in the schools and how enriching it was for the children who were taking part, and how it was so obvious that this was an important thing for them. At each school we went to, every child that I connected with, you could see that it was enriching them moment to moment. It was absolutely the best thing that I've done for a very long time. And I thank you for that.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, and I have to add, I did see both Lisa and Max. I overheard conversations. I know you were being incredibly supportive to lots of other people, and including myself. I could see what you were doing was incredibly giving as well, just sort of behind the scenes, really in between. So thank you for your presence.
Oh,
So Keith, thank you for waiting. You need to unmute.
Just a couple of things. One is I reiterate what Lisa and Max has said, because I was going to say you were all approachable, but you're not hoity at all, so that's not the case. But it was a feature that you actually knew who we all were. And when you realise there were over 100 storytellers there, that's quite an achievement. And I think it's good to recognise that. Part of our fun of the week is because it was a well-oiled machine, and we know it's like a duck, isn't it, where it looks very smoothly going along, and the feet are furiously moving underneath. And I suspect that's what the organisation is like. The other thing is, I've had a chat to a couple of primary school head teachers in Wolverhampton since I got back, and they're keen to make connections with schools in Wolverhampton. The schools coordinator, I had a chat with him while I was in Marrakesh, and the international school who I did a session with. So hopefully I'll be able to report that the children of Wolverhampton are making contact with Marrakesh as well, which I think would be a great spin-off from this festival.
Great. Yeah, they're very keen on English, and I think that storytelling is a fantastic way for them to bring English into the curriculum, but also to bring in that sense of connection, cross-cultural connection as well, and also the amazing lessons that stories can bring without feeling like it's being preached at or hard work. So yeah, that's fantastic. Evita, thank you for waiting. And then we'll move on to
highlights. So many highlights, but the schools definitely were one highlight. Absolutely loved the variety of schools, from private schools with lots of resources to a school way out where they didn't have much, and just the love. I got sung happy birthday by children in their Amazigh clothes. It was really, really special. I'd also like to point out the wonderful chaos. The going with the flow was so much part of the Bahja. I actually got to tell stories to a class of children in the food program who were not expecting me. My guide was very new as well. He was just so lovely. And we made it to the wrong henna cafe. The teacher was late, and I got to meet these wonderful kids. We had a wonderful 2 hours because, of course, the other storytellers didn't turn up. To then, on the last day, be accosted near the actual henna cafe. They're saying, storyteller, storyteller, and repeating some of the chants we did in English. It was just absolutely wonderful, and really just loved I acknowledge all the organization that went behind it, but I actually loved that the universe just threw these curveballs, and through that we made a lot of other connections too. And thanks for all the friendships and you wonderful people. And the sisterhood, don't go to sleep, Dee. Hello, Dee. And the sisterhood and brotherhood. It was really, really, really special. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'd say one of my special moments during the festival in the procession was watching you, Evita, going up to all kinds of people who were watching us in the crowds and just taking the time to not just enjoy yourself, but to engage with the people who are watching on a deeply personal level. And that there was a moment when, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, Evita, I saw Evita going up to a gentleman in a wheelchair and just touching gently his cheek and his face. He just looks so delighted that you'd actually noticed him in that procession when everyone was so busy we were all enjoying ourselves, but you were there giving, giving, giving. So hope you don't mind me mentioning that in this forum, but it was very touching to me. Yeah. So Dee, thank you for waiting. I'm asking you to unmute and there we are. Right.
Okay. So I'm not going to repeat what everyone says because I've shared the same sentiment. But recently in 2023, there was an indicator done by Harvard Studies about the number one predicator of happiness. And if anyone had read it, it was somebody by Weldinger and something. And it said it was the ability to create quick connections and good relationships with people. And I think for a person who is completely new to the community, I mean, I've had the joy of meeting maybe a handful of you who have come to this side of the world. But, I'm relatively new there. Being able to work with each and every one of you and crossing paths has really enriched and transformed my life. And I feel like I am going to live longer to share some of your stories. So I think thank you for giving that gift and giving the opportunity. I mean, running a festival is no small joke. It takes time, dedication. We walk away with just this energy and, yes, we've done all these things and then the next one will come and the next one will come. And it's so much easier just to go, it's a lot of work. We don't have to do that. Or we don't have to do that. And we don't have to do that. But I felt, all the organizers, all the festival directors, all the volunteers, all the tellers, we went over and beyond what we could do. And the other person I did want to say that Stephanie, who was doing all this healing work behind the scenes, I think nobody actually knew how much of her time and effort and energy had gone behind. It wasn't a schedule, yeah? There wasn't a sign-up sheet to say all these people were going to go and speak to Stephanie. But she was constantly working off. And, not only did she help me, there were so many people that, because I was talking, I was like, oh my God, have you seen Stephanie, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 days later, somebody would say, yeah, I met Stephanie too. She was, and I think it was the fact of these unsung heroes that held it together on around the stories and the storytelling, which made it completely all about happiness, joy, and healing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I know Stephanie wasn't just working with storytellers. Pretty much anybody who needed some help with pain or anything really. Stephanie was helping. She actually helped a member of our staff who had an addiction for, I think, about 20 years, maybe a bit longer. And so far, he's been free of nicotine addiction since she saw him. And he has tried several times to kick the habits, but Stephanie spent the time and not just during the festival, but later as well. So yeah, thank you to Stephanie. And also, we haven't really mentioned Veronica stepped in and saved our bacon, really, with the well, with the world record. So it wasn't just those of us who were there at the beginning. It was also people who stepped in and saw, oh, somebody needs some help here, or oh, the timing is off here. Somebody can have my space. It was all of those people, and especially Veronica, who basically gave up their own time when they could have been attending something or doing something else to just make sure that everything worked well. Yeah. So Emma, I've just seen you've got a hand up, and then we need to make sure that we have time for feedbacks of what we can do better. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks very much, because I came from a completely different perspective. Steve and I were there as story listeners, and we were certainly made to feel very welcome from that perspective. So I just want to say thank you for that as well.
Yeah, thank you. And Emma and Steve, they introduced me to a man called Rashid, who helped us to go to 2 different centres. It was very, very last minute. I think the day before he organised it for us, for each one. And that was a wonderful experience certainly for me, and I think for a lot of other people. And also, he is still working really hard on trying to help the young man who many of us met in the tent, called Khali. So thank you to Emma and Steve for introducing me to, or us to, Rashid, who's a pretty amazing character. And thank you for coming. It was great. Oh, so we've got 2 more people. Let's go very quickly, if that's okay. So Veronica, just asking you to unmute, and then Rona, and then we'll switch to what can we do better.
Oh, I like it, the fact that it's a Rona and a Rona, just saying. So I'm just going to say, absolutely, yeah, I jumped in. But you know what? I came home and people were asking me about the festival. And I suddenly went back to the memory of my first couple of days. I didn't just talk about the Guinness Book of Records, because that was this madness of a week. But actually, the day of telling with Danny, this brand new storyteller that I'd never met before at Henna Cafe. And I know, Lucy, I said to you, the staff at Henna had been a bit off that day, and you explained to me why. They were still there trying to help everybody. The staff were absolutely amazing. And then the following day, helping translate. I've never translated so much as I did. I was a translator when I was 21, but of course you all still know I'm 21. But sitting there translating from French to Spanish with the tour guides, those tour guides were absolutely amazing. And as we start talking about ways forward, I would love to engage with them on the next festival.
Great.
And I
Thank
think that's all. And everyone's
Yeah.
amazing. And everyone has been amazing.
Can we congratulate you, Veronica, on your engagement before we move on?
Thank you.
Brilliant. Rona, and then John.
Yeah, so one is an accolade, and that goes out to Marek, the owner of the RIA that Keith and I stayed at. She and her late husband are very civically minded, and they years ago created this association to bring young women and girls from the Atlas Mountain region and very rural parts of Morocco into Marrakesh to get education. And their association pays for all the housing and clothes and supplies and that sort of thing. And she invited Keith and I to go tell stories to these young women, 14 to 16-year-olds approximately. And it was one of the highlights of the week for me. And so I want to give a shout out to her for allowing us that opportunity and for all the work that she does. I really enjoyed connecting with her. And there's something else I was just writing to Jim in the chat, and I had an idea actually just now. I was saying to Jim that when I'm at when I was at the festival, as is often the case when I'm in conferences or festivals, or at festivals, I should say, um, I I often feel incredibly motivated to learn all these new stories and all the stories that I have on my list, on my long list of stories to learn. And then I get home and I'm like, get bogged down with life and work and, all that stuff. And my motivation flies out the window. So, what if, for those who wanted to and wanted to pay for their own accommodation pre-festival, to come, let's say, 3 days earlier and have a sort of what word am I looking for? Like a workshop, like a little workshop together where we could workshop new stories and work on new material in support of each other. And that would be sort of like a pre-conference thing that would be an option for people to do. And I don't know, it's just a thought I had, but I kind of like the idea.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you. Yeah, I'm writing these things down, by the way. They're not just disappearing into the ether. Yeah. Thank you, Rona. John, you've been waiting patiently.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone that all the tellers, I mean, not just, volunteers, but especially the tellers, because when Mike and Lucy and I were programming, we hadn't even met half of you. I mean, because we had so many new people in this time, and we put all these names together on the program, say, oh, that might work, that might work, that might work. And it was a bit random. And you all just ran with it. And that is I mean, we'd learnt a bit from festivals before, but it was the way you all jumped in. And from an organizer's point of view, I mean, I did spend a lot of time just running around sort of making sure things were sweet or not, as the case may be, but there wasn't a continuous barrage of complaints. And I've been at a lot of festivals, and it's really unusual, to have everyone just, oh well, we'll make this work, and and I just got to thank you all.
Yeah.
But it was lovely to watch how friendships were forged. I mean, two of my boys, as I call them, Herleifer and Dougie, whom I both knew separately, I knew they would get on, and boy, did they get on. They were terrific together. And it's just so lovely seeing that happening. And young Danny, as Veronica's mentioned, I mean, to see her like blossom and Iris, the age group, the mix of ages from like 25 to, in my case, 75. I don't know if anybody's older than me, but interesting to see that. It was wonderful, wonderful. And the women's thing, don't ever lose that, Lucy. That women's stories of women's resilience was so important. I thought that was a great session that Dawn was with me on, and I think Dawn appreciated it as well. It was a great session.
Yes, and Khadija has given feedback that was really moving.
She was fabulous. She was fabulous. I want to keep in touch with her.
And the participants, it wasn't just us as speakers, it was the participants
that was what was really important.
Volunteering their own personal stories. That was really powerful. Yeah.
But sometimes women's voices don't always get heard. And it's just so important. I mean, there are 3 female tuk-tuk drivers in Marrakesh, and we had 2 of them. And I would love to spend more time actually just talking to them. They were, and both had disabilities. So those are the sort of voices that should be heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd just like to quickly echo what's just been said. Oh, sorry, Dawn. Was your hand up already? Oh Lord, I've
It's
upset Dawn
fine,
Elliott.
Baden. You go
Oh,
first, and
no,
then I'll go
no, Dawn,
second. No, no,
no.
seriously. You go first, I'll go second. I've just got my hand up because I can't stay to the end, but I'd love to hear you first. Go,
I'm
go
I'm
for
s-
it.
I'm scared now.
Oh, you should be.
I know. I'd just like to echo that and give a special shout out to Dee Palinasami, um, with whom I was thrown together to run a workshop, which I had been given a heads up about, and which could not have gone better, even though we literally sort of knocked it together in 5 minutes downstairs in the courtyard before we went in. Big up D, but we kind of had a sense of one another that this was going to work. The other side of that is that with in terms of the schools program, and this is a little bit of a gripe. I got a message when I was on the plane waiting to take off telling me this is on the Friday. I decided to fly in a couple of days early to kind of like chill, acclimatize, get ready for the parade Monday. Maybe go to the dinner on Sunday, depending on how I was. That I was to turn up at the square at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning to be driven out at 8:30 for an hour to get to a school for 9:30 to run a couple of 45-minute workshops starting at 10 and then be driven back to town at 12 and arrive back hopefully by 1 p.m. And my immediate response was, sorry, that wasn't my plan. Luckily, the person Mohammed, who was absolutely lovely, messaged back and said, effectively, really sorry. This program's been arranged, and the storytellers who are coming in early and needed to kind of get this program moving, which is just as well, because the message I got once I'd arrived in Marrakesh from the person who was obviously Mohammed's senior, who shall remain nameless, and who actually turned out to be a really lovely guy, was one of these kind of, I am the organizer of the schools festival, and you will be at the square in the morning at this time to do XYZ, and this is what's going to happen. And had I got that message before I'd responded to Mohammed saying, okay, fair dues, reading between the lines, I'm aware of the potential repercussions if I kick off and, people that might upset. So I said, I'll do it, but under protest. Ha ha ha. And he was like, thank you, Mr. Baden. Had I got the other message that I received when I landed in Marrakesh, which had a little bit of an officious tone to it, it must be said, that would not have turned out well for anybody because, I mean, there's a side of me that you probably never want to see. In the end, it all went well. Got to the school, there was a little bit of chaos there, which is another thing that maybe, and I guess with the numbers of schools involved and last minute arrangements and all of that, it's understandable with hindsight how some of those things didn't really go that well. But that's something that maybe a little bit more attention might be paid to in terms of making sure that the schools program, which is vital, I get that. And the response that we get when we get to those schools is amazing. So I get that as well. But that, there were contact numbers, people know which schools they're going to, that the drivers who are taking them actually have some idea where they're taking the people who are going to those schools, etc., etc. I'm not going to delve into detail about some of the experiences, but that is something that I think a little bit more attention could be paid to and a lot more organization in terms of contacts and phone numbers and addresses and so on. Yeah, because it worked out well. But I think, as Evita said, it was sort of order that arose out of chaos in some cases. And it was kind of like, you know what, just go with the flow. It's going to be all right. But a little bit unnerving along the way.
Mm.
That's me.
Thank you for that, Baden. That's really helpful. And I can see how it sounds like some of the notes might have been a little bit worded inappropriately, a little bit harshly, or something. I didn't actually see those, so I'm sorry for everybody who got an officious sounding note. And I do know that we only got the go ahead for the schools. I think it was very, very shortly before the festival actually started. So yeah, I'm not trying to make excuses, but things sometimes are very last minute in Marrakesh. It's just kind of the way that things seem to be. And so it's great that you were able to be flexible and go with the flow and enjoy it. So, but thank you for that feedback, and we can certainly try and do what we can for that. So Dawn, waiting
Yes.
patiently. Yeah.
Oh no, yes, I am actually unusually. Just wanted to touch on it's a small idea I had as the festival grows larger, which I believe it will be getting larger and larger, which is to do with family groups. So I think a lot of people find it quite easy to meet people and, find that downtime to be with people. I personally don't find it that easy because I find myself busy a lot of the time for some reason. And so my suggestion is that we create small family groups, which may be randomly allocated, but, like it's not all the Irish together, but you know what I mean? So that people are, I'm sorry, I didn't pick on the Irish as the Irish, but it's such a clan.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but so that you are paired up, not paired up with, maybe there are 6, which is a manageable number, and you have maybe your own little thread, or you get together for a coffee on the first day, and then if you feel low or you feel a bit overwhelmed, you've got people in a small tribal group, a small family group that you can talk to. And I think another one of the benefits, and I won't stay long on this, another one of the benefits would be that if people are ill, sometimes people don't know they're ill. And I was quite concerned for a couple of people were ill in the gala dinner, and I noticed, because I notice these things, that's one of my feelers are always out in that way. But I think it could be quite worrying if you're, maybe out in the Sofitel or something and you're unwell. But if you've got your little family that you can reach out to, I think that might be a helpful addition for future years.
I love that idea. I think that would be really lovely. And also collaborations could come out of that as well. It could spring from that occasionally. Perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure who is next, but I'm going to go to Fiona because Fiona hasn't spoken very much so far.
Hi, so we're in the second part of the feedback.
Yes.
So yeah, there was one thing. So yeah, there was mention of the names being put in a hat and everybody being really cool with that. So sadly, unfortunately, I had kind of distressing experience with that, with the collaboration with Sylvain and Nico, where I could see like a few days before the event that it wasn't going to work, that we were there in the wrong place. But there was I did not know who to talk to. I tried to message the artist liaison person. There was no response. I tried to message in the WhatsApp. There was no response. In the past, when I tried to ask Zohair a question, he was overwhelmed and just couldn't answer. So then I just saw the thing was gonna, like the Titanic was gonna sink, or the thing was gonna happen, the disaster was gonna happen, but I could not do anything. And my collaborators didn't seem to feel it the way I did. They were kind of cool doing our show. But yeah, and then it ended up being, for me, quite distressing and embarrassing, the way we were cut like that. So I would love the idea for next time of a liaison person who we can direct questions to, or maybe that just checks in with people if they're on the lineup for a gig. Just check in the day before, you're there at the gig tomorrow, everything cool, do you have any questions? Just somebody to talk to. Because I've loved the festival. I want to go back. It was wonderful, but that was just a really sore point. What happened on that night at Les
I think the audience felt it as well. Several people who were there found it very embarrassing also. It was a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one big one. And then another one on a lighter note, I would so love to hear some of the Moroccan female storytellers. I feel I got to maybe catch Zakia one day in the tent. And I don't know, was it a matter of translation or scheduling? Maybe I wasn't there when they were telling, but I just long to hear their stories. So I'd love an occasion, maybe to have them tell in English or French or getting a translation next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fiona. I think that's really important, what you said. And I think we need to have a better system for working out how to share the time between people, so that if there's an hour available and there's 6 tellers, then we need to make it clear that there's 10 minutes per person.
I mean, professional tellers usually work that out for themselves. I mean, when we were at the stand, I mean, we worked out with so much time, but I think the problem was that Fiona and her colleagues had a big long piece, which they thought they were getting to do at that time, but they didn't. Normally, we would just divide it up, but I think that was a misunderstanding of what you were actually going to do, maybe, Fiona?
Yeah. It was just because we were put in the program, like the collaboration was there in the lineup. But it was obvious that it wasn't the right time. We needed short stories of joy. So it was obvious that it was, but I just wanted somebody to just say that clearly, because Nico and Sylvain, they were like, yeah, we're doing our piece. So yeah, it was kind of awful. But yeah, so just somebody to talk
I'm
to
really
next time.
sorry that
If I can chip in for a touch. I know exactly how that happened, and I apologize. But for future, as artistic director, I can always be approached. And I didn't know anything about that until, that situation, until the thing. And that's kind of my role. So yeah,
Good to know. Good to know for next time.
Please, if we do in future, if there's anything comes up, just give me a kick, preferably in the head, but before it arrives.
Okay, I'll know that next time. Thanks. Thanks,
And John, I was doing that masterclass on the Saturday on telling to the crowd without compromise, but Mohammed didn't show. So there I was for my hour and a half. We managed, we got through it. Like everything else, you step up and you get it done. Mike was there. It was lovely to have Mike there, and different people were there. But I never did get to spend any time with Mohammed, who was supposed to be co-presenting with me. So I don't know what went wrong there.
Sorry about that, Liz.
It's all right, but it was wonderful. But that's the thing, you just have to realize, and I think everybody has proven how well they can do this. You just have to step up and say, it's not what we planned, but hey, we can make this work, and it did work. And I particularly loved the session I did with Jim on stories of reconciliation. That was a really lovely session. So there were some real highlights this year, and just thank you for everything you did.
Thank you. Evita. You're muted.
All right. I really appreciate, Lucy, that you said no names and details. I wasn't going to do that anyway. One of my suggestions, just from some observations and having witnessed a few things, is that, and I talked to Zuhair about it, and he very cleverly said it should be to both sides. It would be an advantage if we had a little, because everybody arrives at a different time, so it's not something we can bring to everyone, a little bit of cultural awareness of the country we are coming to, that we are not treating those volunteers like they are our slaves, and we are not putting them down, and just a bit more cultural awareness also of that it can be chaotic, like you said, the schools can come really late, and we should just all be so fortunate to be able to do that. And yes, no names or anything, but I did hug the person in front of the other person, saying, I'm really sorry you're being talked to like that. And that person came back to me later and said, thank you for doing that, because it's been a very hard week. So if there was from the organization just a little bit, when I mentioned it to Suhair, he said, yes, but both ways. Like, our volunteers need to know too that some people come from different countries and have a different attitude. So I'll just leave it at that, because mostly it was really, really wonderful. But that particular thing was pretty upsetting. But I didn't do my usual activist thing. So I'm bringing it here now.
Your
With love.
activist parts are very, very welcome. But I also appreciate your diplomatic parts right now that are being very careful. And do feel free, individual emails is fine, just not naming people, so that we don't want to tell people off. That's not helpful, but it is important that we have pointers that we can guide people to who have unintentionally behaved in a way that's been hurtful. And so it's helpful, because I'm sure most people, if they realize that they've done something offensive or hurtful, they don't want to repeat that. So it is very helpful. So thank you for raising that. Yeah.
And a big shout out to Jim, who has very good antenna as well, and Dawn. They just know when things are like that. And it felt good to have people that, that saw as well. So it wasn't just something, I wasn't being the weird one out. Anyway, over to someone else now, thanks.
Yeah. So Jim and then Rona. That's okay.
Thank you. And again, these are more suggestions. I'm making an assumption that we won't repeat the Guinness Book of World Records attempt, because that was, you'll notice nobody listed that as part of their real enjoyment of this. But I'm glad we got it done, and I don't want to do that again. So beyond that, I think it would be nice to have opportunities for groups to gather, groups of storytellers to gather, like we sort of did in the collaboration group, but to have kind of some standing places where we could gather and collaborate or just share. They could be affinity groups, they could be cross affinity groups. But one of the things that I really wanted to be able to do was to spend time with other storytellers, especially from different cultures. And so structuring that a little bit would help. I want to second Rona's suggestion that we build in performance times as well as workshop times. That again would feed me a little bit. And I'd like to suggest the last thing is that the storytelling tent, if we're not doing the record, could be, again, organized by themes, have the chance for music, have the chance for co-storytelling. There were so many things that tent could have been used for that were preempted by the Guinness Book of Records. And I'd like to see it expand its mission there. And I think that would benefit both those of us who are in the tent telling or whatever, as well as the people coming. So again, well done.
Thank you. Yes, I think many of us will be happy to see the end of the Guinness World Records. Although I have to say the reason it was originally my idea many years ago, and my thinking was that this is a way to help storytelling be seen by the world. It's not that I'm a particular fan of the Guinness World Records at all, but I just thought, sometimes I'm not particularly good at publicity, and I thought this is a way that we can get a shout out and get photographs, and storytellers can be seen throughout the world. So, which I think has sort of been achieved. But I do agree, and I'm sure Veronica will agree, it was a massive effort for everybody, especially those of you who managed to tell in the middle of the night or the early hours of the morning. And I know Mike put in a massive amount of effort for this, which I'm very grateful for. So yeah, thank you for raising that. And yeah, I like the idea of the family groups and having more groups where storytellers can get to know each other much better and perhaps create smaller collaborations. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So Rona.
No, I'm not even going to wait for my name to be called. I'm stepping in. Sorry,
Fine,
Justine.
fine,
Sorry,
Hayden, I will
Rona.
remember
Come
that.
on, you know.
Hang on, are we allowed to do that?
You know how the patriarchy works,
I could
right?
just mute
So
him.
don't even think about it. So now that we all know who to blame, and thanks, Jim, for bringing that up. Yeah, I just want to say on behalf of a lot of us, and I'm sure, there'll be a lot of agreement to this. Thank goodness that we broke the record, that we made the record, and everybody acknowledges what it means in terms of the festival and the publicity that is generated. But yeah, goodbye Guinness. Nobody wants to go there again because it just got in the way of so much stuff, and it was so stressful for so many people. So, amen and goodbye. That's me.
Yeah, yeah, good. It did make the whole of the storytelling community very popular with the tourism board as well, which helps with funding. So I know it's not most people's focus, but it's it brought in a bit of money as well. So yeah, so thank you. So now,
Can I go now? Because Baden bumped me.
he did. He just barged right on in there, didn't he? Yeah, go ahead.
So I have two things. One is some suggestions for the World Storytelling Cafe itself, the physical cafe. I love that space, and the problem, the downside of that space is that there's a lot of distractions, noise distraction, light distraction, etc. So just some ideas of how to potentially remedy that. One is to put up signs in the stairwell saying storytelling in session, please, no talking in the stairwell. Another would be to put like a thick, like a soundproof material curtain across the entranceway as you get to the top of the stairs, perhaps even two of them as you're coming up the first set of stairs and then the second set of stairs. That would both visually key people into that something's going on and to be quiet, but also it hopefully would create some sound barrier a little bit anyway. And then the third is also to put both signs up about being quiet up on the balcony, but also perhaps some cloth along the railing that looks down into that top floor space. Because like I was watching one of the videos the other night of the recording, and there was so many shadows of people moving around upstairs. I'm visually distracted easily. So for me, it was a distraction. And even just the fact that there's this weird light, like bright light up at the top of the screen, um, is a bit of a distraction for me anyway. I don't know if other people felt that way, but there's just also the noise of people talking above because they weren't aware that an event was happening just below them and that space is open. So signs, curtains, cloth for the light and for the sound, I think might be some ways to remedy some of those challenges of that space. And likewise, in terms of the space, again, because I'm visually distracted easily, like when I'm doing, I don't do very many Zoom things these days because once the pandemic is over, I'm kind of feel done with that, but occasionally will. But when I did, I always took myself off of the screen. I can't watch myself telling. It's way too much of a distraction to me. I have to sort of feel the story and that sort of thing. So I don't know if there's any way to do the recording without having the TV screen or the computer screen right in front of where we're telling. That would be helpful for me as the teller for those sessions that are recorded. So that's it about the space. And the only other comment I have is to use Baden's term, a bit of a gripe. And that is, I was really happy to be on the schedule for the Physicality and Stories workshop. And I had not seen I talked to Mike about it a little bit ahead of time. I had not seen the space prior to that because I didn't get there last festival. But it was so small, even with piling up the tables. It really was not an appropriate space for that workshop. So I hope that in the future you'll assign the workshops to appropriate spaces for whatever the workshops are. And the other challenge I had in that workshop is I did not expect the women, the Moroccan women, to be part of the workshop. And because it was in that space was the only reason why they participated. And it completely, I mean, I managed, I did the workshop, but between the space constraints and the fact that everything had to be interpreted and there was always a 5-minute discussion on everything that was interpreted about exactly what I meant as the workshop leader to the young women. It added another layer of challenge for me as a workshop leader. So I hope that that there'll be more thought put into appropriate spaces for whatever the workshop is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. I wasn't aware of that, and that sounds like it was quite awkward. And also I think there's a general point about translators. Some of the translators were more skilled and some were less skilled. Certainly I witnessed that, and I think maybe some more monitoring of who should be put where and who qualifies as a translator and who doesn't. Some people stepped in even though they knew they weren't pretending to be very skilled, and they just helpfully stepped in. But that was definitely a challenge in some situations.
Yes, thank you for hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I could come in a couple things. So apologies on the space, Rona. Definitely we need to work on matching better. And I think we'll be using the second tent more for workshops actually, because we're finding that the noise level in there was more acceptable than we thought. So that was the reason that we didn't timetable it more. On translation, we actually had the translation in the second festival was absolutely outstanding, and we did that with through a partnership with the university. But unfortunately, we had university exams this time, and we didn't realise that we'd lost them until literally hours before the festival started. So I'm more in a place of being grateful to those who stepped into the gap. But we are very, very aware of that. And clearly, as the festival grows, we'll get more. I think we had 21 mother tongues this time, and we will certainly aspire to keeping that growing. So translation is an ever present challenge.
Yeah, I'm really aware of what time is. Oh, sorry, did someone?
No, I don't know how to do the little hand thing. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that
sorry, just before, sorry, Jill, just before you said that, I'm just aware of the time, and I just wanted to kind of recognize some people might need to leave now or 2 minutes ago because we agreed 8 till 10. But if I have time now, and if there's anybody who feels okay with staying, I'd really like to hear what other people have to say. But if people do need to leave, then please do feel that you're not going to be. Yes, so Jim's saying goodbye. And just maybe I'll just thank everybody who needs to leave now for coming. And if there is any more feedback, there is a session tomorrow night, 8 till 10, that you're all very welcome to join. And also, if you want to give written feedback, that's also very, very welcome. Yeah, so thank you, and do understand if anybody needs to leave. I'm able to stay for a while afterwards.
Can I suggest that we take a picture?
I just wanted to congratulate this meeting or celebrate it, because I feel like everything that people are saying, it's really growing out of a conversation, and also out of looking at what happened, even the gripes in a positive way, in a way. So it feels like the communication is very open. And there might be some people, like Rona had so many beautiful ideas. There might be some people, even for the next festival, who really want to either right before the festival, or I don't know what the timing would look like, but really feel a calling to take an active something, active participation. And of course, it's up to the people, you all, Lucy, and all the rest, you're forming it really. But it seems useful to at least explore that idea, and also to look at the things that people were really drawn to, that, because I'm always looking at time, funny because I'm going over time now, but to really have the time through over the next 2 years to have these discussions together.
I think that's a really great suggestion. So having maybe working parties that are working on different aspects of the festival beforehand. And yeah, just how Veronica stepped up in the festival to have people who might have the time and interest and ability to step up before and help. That I think that would be really, really welcome. We can explore that, John and Mike.
And if I could just, before anyone else goes, I just want to thank Mike for or appreciate what you said, Mike, about the interpreters and both the challenges and the great interpretation that happened at various spots. So I do appreciate that challenge.
Thank you. And Justine has been waiting very patiently. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, just really interested to hear what everyone else had to say. And I was going to say that about, I really loved in the last festival, having translators that were storytellers too. That was one of my kind of real highlights, of having sort of a young Moroccan storyteller telling alongside. And a lot of my stuff has call and response. So to have the call in both languages and coming back was just lovely. So if there's a way of doing that again, that would be great, because I really missed that this time. And the other thing with that, I just wanted to ask about, and I don't know if it's is even doable, but Seth was going to have like sessions where we were telling in the circles on the square, and I would absolutely adore the opportunity to do that, because it just feels like so authentic. And I don't know what the kind of, how if that's possible and who manages those spaces. But again, just a request that if that was a possible thing, I would really love to do that. That's kind of, my favorite thing is telling at night with all of the noise behind me. To actually be able to tell in the middle of that would just be, spectacular. So those were my only two things. And also just to big up Veronica and our conversations where I WhatsApp going, can you check this Excel sheet like backwards and forwards, which was just great fun. And I just want to say one thing, which is like so I felt really well looked after for my 3.5 days I was there. And what that allowed me to do was to be there for other people, which I don't often get to do outside my family. So I really appreciated the opportunity to kind of go, oh, this is what I'm like when I'm looked after. So that was really lovely. And that's all from me, because I know we're running over.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad you had the time to have some me time looking after you. That's great. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Is there anybody else who has feedback? Veronica raised her hand, it says. Veronica.
Sorry. So everyone's gone, oh my God, yeah, the record was horrendous. You know what? It was because it was only the Friday before, just like everything else, where it was actually like, right, lads, we're actually doing this. So, I think we should never say never, because you never know. Someone else might jump in, but we've learned so much. And as Jim was saying earlier, having translators, 2 festivals ago, we had those translators and they were brilliant. They're just things that we can work on. And I think, I know I was sending messages to John and Mike and Lucy before the festival going, hey guys, is there anything you want me to do? Because you sort of know me. You sort of know my skills. John knows I'm a bureaucrat, still shouts at me over it. I think I've been given a leeway from John right now over that, maybe for about a year or so. But we all do have skills. So maybe it's something that, 3 months before the next festival, we get a little get together and go, hey guys, who's going to be able to help with?
I'd be up for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because we've all got skills. So let's share it and make it even bigger.
I think the biggest thing there is, if I could come in, is artist liaison, because it's very difficult for a Moroccan, for a local, in particular youngster, to be sensitive to to people who are outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think collectively, if we can, I don't know what the system would be, but I think to me that's one of the biggest areas that we can. I think we did well at picking people up. Don't get me wrong, but I think we can do. I also think we can do better.
But maybe that's the idea of having the families formed before we get there. You know, and Mike, I really just want to pick up a lid and hand it over to you. You're going to be the only person who'll understand that. But Mike Goldsmo and I sat there going, are we actually going to do this? We were handing a lid to each other to stop each other talking, going, right, whoever's got the lid, you know.
Talking stick, a new talking stick.
Completely. But there is so much to do. We all know how worthwhile this is. You know, I'm still gutted that I didn't get into a school, but I know that that'll come. You know, and you know things have
You're
gone
going
on.
in every day. You're going into schools every day next festival. In fact, you're not going to be let out of school, no, except when you're doing bureaucracy for us.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, one thing I've learned coming back is life is too short. So whilst we're over there, we should be living it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Amen. Amen.
Words of wisdom there. Serious words of wisdom. Yeah.
And can I just add, those school kids this year had a narrow escape. They're not going to be that lucky 2 years from now.
I'm going to go, folks. I'm sorry I have an early start tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Wait,
Bye-bye.
before more people go, can we just all look into the camera, please?
Yes, smile.
Smile. Baden, camera. Right, this camera.
Oh, this one.
Oh, Dee, come on.
My screen's over there.
And
thank you.
Love you all.
Bye.
Yeah, it
Night-night.
was lovely to get going as well. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lucy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks,
you all for coming.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right. How do I leave? I want to get out. I want to get out.
Where is it?
Lovely chatting. Great
Escape,
to see you
John.
I can't see it.
all.
Great.
Yeah. Bye, Lisa. Bye, Max.
Let's leave.
Bye, lovelies. See you next time.
Bye, Jill. Bye, Baden.
Bye, Lucy.
Bye.
Bye, Bean.
Bye,
I have your
Emma.
pearls. They've gone a lot of people have seen your beautiful river pearls where I live, Lisa. It's really changing. Touching people.
Oh, thank you, Jill. That's beautiful to hear. Thank you. Yeah, magic. A magic.
Thank you, Wally, for helping us for so long. This is well after your day, your work day. So thank you for staying so late for us. And
thank you, Waleed. Bye-bye.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.